What an introduction. Thank you very much. It was probably longer than my talk. I have news for you. Drugs is not the problem. Really. Addiction is. Drugs are only substances, pieces of matter. They cannot be defined as good or bad. They are neutral. To give you an example, opium gives us morphine. Morphine is one of the most powerful, most potent painkillers that helps thousands. Opium also gives us heroin. It is just like the knife. We can use it to cut our daily bread, but we can also kill someone as well. So the problem is not with the substances, but with how we, humans, deal with them. That makes a difference. Addiction is another story altogether. Most of the time is bad news. Addiction is a behavioral disorder. In reality, it is an extreme form of personal slavery, enslavement. And as a phenomenon, it has three dimensions. First of all, it has a physical, biological dimension. It has to do with our brain cells, with the receptors, with dopamine. Also, when someone is addicted for a long time, then there are withdrawal symptoms, bodily, physically withdrawal symptoms. We get sick because of our addictions. There is also a psychological dimension. It has to do with the way we were brought up, with possible traumas back in our early childhood. But it also has a social side to it, a social dimension. It has to do with the way we live together, the way we interact with each other, with our relationships. So addiction is a bio-psycho-social phenomenon. You can be addicted to drugs, legal or illegal, it doesn't matter. You can also be addicted to alcohol or gambling or even the internet. It doesn't make really any difference at all. But is there a cure? Is there a cure for addiction? Does treatment work? You bet it does. Of course, there are no shortcuts. There are no magic potions or medicines. It takes a lot of work on the addicted person's part to learn how to fall in love with life again so that she or he won't need any crutches to help them deal with emotional pain. In 2000 and 2001, the National School of Health conducted a research project for KETHEA, where I work. KETHEA, by the way, is the oldest and largest rehabilitation organization of its kind in Greece. In fact, it is one of the largest in Europe. The sample size was 380 people who, for at least one day, had passed through the therapeutic program. 5 years later, through urine testing and personal interviewing, we found out that 71% of those who stayed for 1 year in the program, they were free of drugs. Therapy does work. When Helen came from her border town to the therapeutic community Ithaki in Thessaloniki, she was a human wreck, both inside and outside. While there in the therapeutic community, she joined one of the sports activities, judo. Judo meaning in Japanese, the gentle way. And she became very good at it. She took part in the national championship as an athlete of Iraklis club. And amazingly, she got the silver medal. Just think about it. Think of this girl and what she has achieved. The year was 2004, and that meant that automatically she became a member of the Olympic team. She chose to complete her therapy, though. 4 years later, though, she was running just before the Beijing Olympics. She was running in the streets of Athens with the Olympic torch in one hand and with her little daughter in the other. Just like a miracle, perhaps. I am a very fortunate man because for 30 years now, I see this happening every day. 6 years ago, when my father died, I had this conversation with an old man who was running a workshop next to the cemetery with marble stone for the graves. Knowing what I do for a living, he said to me, "Listen, son, during the war, parents were burying their children. And that is not the natural order of things. Actually, it is the exact opposite. Now I see again for the past years, parents again burying their children because of drugs." The word therapist comes from the Greek word therapon. We all know that most English words come from the Greek, right? And therapon appears for the first time in Homer's Iliad. Therapon was the servant who helped his master, the warrior, put on the armor to go and fight the battle. We, in the health profession, are only that, just servants who help those among us who are afflicted by pain to help fight their battle. It is not a war against drugs. It sounds very silly, even the notion of it. If it is a war against addiction. And this war can be only won if we are in it together. Thank you.